Good morning, guys. It's Jonathan with One Big Impact. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something, and this is going to raise some some eyebrows in the group for sure. I wanted to talk about basically which one is better, keto or Atkins. And you guys know, with a lot of me. By the way, welcome if you're new here. I am Jonathan with One Big Impact. We also have a Facebook group that is kind of low carb based, but we also have lots of different lifestyles in there and as well. And check out the links in the description below. It is called Healthy Living for a Healthy Life. It's a Facebook group and it's an amazing family. I'm actually just getting some light exercise here this morning. But which is better? Which is more sustainable? Which is safer? So I'm not going to really go into too much of my own personal views, but you guys know already that I'm an Atkins guy, and there's a lot of reasons, and I'll talk to you about some of the differences. One of the differences that you're going to notice, Atkins is kind of like a pyramid, or a constant driving of the carbohydrates. So you'll be very restrictive in phase one. You'll be about 20 grams of net carbs. And then you go to phase two and you're like, about 40, 25 to 50 roughly net carbohydrates. And you won't do fruits and stuff like that. And then phase three, you're kind of figuring out, where you're at. And then phase four maintenance, you're probably going to find out what your carbohydrate threshold is. Phase three is going to be about 100 grams of carbs or something like that, and all the while reintroducing things like whole grains and eventually eating things like oatmeals and fruits and lots of things like that, which can be really nice and can get you back into the swing of things. Now, ketogenic, on the other hand, ketogenic diets or keto diets are going to be a little bit different in the respects of they act basically like the same way that the first phases of Atkins act. And phase one of Atkins is going to be 20 grams of carbohydrates, and keto is going to be basically 20% of your overall intake, of your daily intake is going to be carbohydrates. So how many of you guys want to kill me for totally screwing that up? 20% protein, 5% carbohydrates, 75% fat, 70% fat. Okay, I'm sorry, I know. I was walking, saying all these numbers. I apologize. It is not 20% carbs. It's like 5 to 10% carbs. Keep them very low. And I was saying 20 carbs because of Atkins, blah, 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 blah. Forgive me! But you don't want to go above that. So they're very similar in the beginning. And then once you get rolling, as you noticed with Atkins, you start to raise your carbohydrates. Now, remember, these aren't going to be carbohydrates like donuts or junk food or anything like that. They're going to be good quality whole foods that your body needs. So you are slowly reintroducing carbohydrates. And I would say overall, it's good to not eliminate whole food groups. And unfortunately, keto tends to do that, and it can be really difficult. And for sustainability, it's hard for a lot of people because keto is basically a forever, and Atkins is a gradual incline towards a safer carbohydrate level eventually. Ketogenic can be really difficult for a lot of people, although it does have some benefits as far as, and I'm not going to say I'm 100% for one or the other. I love both. Both are great. I am an Atkins person. That's my go-to. And the reason for that is because I feel that reincorporating carbohydrates can be really beneficial as far as like building muscle and different things like that. As for keto, I find that, and this is not necessarily my personal opinion. Sorry, my hand's getting tired. I apologize for going back and forth. Keto can be difficult for a lot of people because of its restrictiveness, and not necessarily because of its restrictiveness, but its long-term restrictiveness. It's going to focus a lot on staying in ketosis for basically forever. It does have things like you're able to incorporate things that you wouldn't in the first phases. It's going to be very high fat, which a lot of people enjoy. You can also use, there's tons of keto recipes, so it's not restrictive in the sense of not having foods available, just kind of in the carbohydrate sense. And that can be difficult for a lot of people, because if you restrict, if I keep something from you forever, what are you going to want? You're always going to want it. You're always going to want that. But if I give something to you, like Atkins, instead of keto, and I give something to you just in a healthier version. So, you know, keto, I'm like, well, I want some toast and some oatmeal, and I can't have that. But in later versions of Atkins, later phases of Atkins, you can. So you get that kind of, that ability to re-enter regular eating or dieting society. So it really helps. Now, as far as health benefits, I would say they both have their benefits. Let's be honest. If you're losing weight and you're getting in shape and things like that, they are both very, very beneficial. But you do have to keep in mind, if you're like a bodybuilder or anything like that, ketogenic diets or Atkins or just a low carb approach can be really good when you're trying to lose muscle, or I should not have said that, when you're trying to lose weight, lose fat. But remember, if you're attempting to build large amounts of muscle, or you're going to a bulking phase, neither approach is probably going to be effective. We could go back and forth many different ways. It really depends on you personally. If you do better with long-term restriction and kind of never really re-entering the whole carbohydrate circus, I will say, and you find it difficult once you reincorporate things like toast or fruits or something like that to be able to control yourself, well, you kind of have two options. You know, you could either stay keto, which will restrict it for pretty much ever, and it's kind of just a streamlined stay thing, and it's always going to be the same. It's not going to change. Obviously your meals can change and things like that, but you're going to keep most things as far as like your percentages the same. You could also stay within phase 1 of Atkins, or even go to phase 2 if you feel a little bit more daring, but it really depends on personal preference, and it depends on if you want to reincorporate carbohydrates and you feel that that's a safe option for you. A lot of people will say it's not great to delete certain parts of food or complete food groups and things like that, and like I said just a minute ago, I don't think that that's a good idea necessarily as far as like long-term success, because let's be honest, you need to be able to work on your self-discipline and things like that when you are changing your lifestyle like this and losing weight and stuff. But that being said, it's very important that you know yourself. You know, if I would much rather you deleted carbohydrates from your daily regimen rather than eating, you know, 500 grams of carbs a day and ending up, you know, extremely overweight. So know yourself, know what works best for you. You know, if you're following Atkins and Atkins is working, that's great. Keep it up. If you're following keto and keto is working, that's great. Keep it up. It really depends on what you like most. I will say that regardless of what you're doing, I would do your best to follow as much of a strict meal plan as you can possibly find. You don't want too much variations. You don't want to go into each day saying, yeah, I hit my macros. Yeah, I hit this, I hit that. Don't do that every day, okay? Because then I see people eating just absolute junk just trying to hit your macros. If you're eating Hot Pockets 3 times a day and drinking 4 Monster energy drinks and your coffee and this and that's how you think you hit your macros, and you're going through MyFitnessPal and this and that's, you're wondering, why am I not seeing results? Okay, so if you're not eating good quality whole foods, and those can be low carbohydrates, so don't kid yourself, you know, tons and tons of vegetables, tons and tons of healthy fats, tons of protein. Well, it won't be tons of protein on keto, but, and a little side note, I will say, if you're trying to preserve muscle, and this can go both ways, everybody's going to have their own opinion on it, and that's fine. But if you're trying to preserve muscle, and you would be going or leaning towards a low carbohydrate type of meal plan or anything like that, personally, because of the low ketogenic levels as far as protein is concerned, I personally, you could either do modified keto, meaning you could modify it to meet your needs as far as protein, or you could just go Atkins and you could just add some protein, because Atkins is a lot less restrictive on protein intake. So I hope you guys like our video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Also, like I said, go check us out on Facebook. Our group is called Healthy Living for a Healthy Life. Keep up the good work, and I'd love to hear in the comments below what you prefer, Atkins or keto. Peace, guys.